Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Again, happy Cinco de Mayo. We're super excited today to feature in our virtual studio a cool way to make sure that your sets are really interesting. So if you could take the shot there and make sure we look at this super cool food truck display from Royce's Prop Shop. It's really fun. They set it up really quickly, and it just adds this whole flair. And because we were talking about food and beverage, we wanted to make a cool prop and make it look interesting than a Zoom call. So welcome back. Hope you guys had a great lunch. And please make sure to visit our virtual photo booth. We want to thank our friends at the Snap Bar. There was a slide up at the break, and we'll put it in the chat box as well. But you can pop out and hit the link and take a fun picture of yourself on your device. And there's fun stickers. You just drag and drop your stickers. Take the shot, they'll count it down, and then you can post it on your social media channels. So enjoy seeing what a virtual photo booth can look like. And thank you again to our Snap Bar folks. We appreciate that. I'm excited to introduce our panelist that's joining us virtually, Miss Shelby Sewell with Foods Catering out of the Seattle area. Hi, Shelby.
Hi.
So good to see you. I miss your face.
Too.
I miss your cute
I
face. Here we are at the food truck trying to order some tacos on this Cinco de Mayo. How are things in your catering world first? Tell us what you're experiencing.
Well, from a business perspective, we're shuttered just like many others. We did not immediately choose to do a pivot. Of course, now we're working on virtual events, especially in the corporate world. We're looking at some delivering of like tasting boxes and bringing people through experiences for team building to build community through both a shared experience of an actual thing that they're going to eat or try together, but also kind of playing on shared experiences in terms of memory. So we're looking at creating like a board game where there's a facilitator who can help bring people along this journey and maybe talk to them about different things that have happened to them across their life and memories about food and doing team building, all the way to cooking contests with teams and virtual dinner parties for people where they can all get delivered boxes of food and consume and eat things together, and again have someone walk them through courses and talk about tasting notes and different things. So we're pivoting now, but
love that.
You know, it's an interesting time for sure.
I have seen some really innovative, creative stuff around food and beverage. I had a group that was a nonprofit. They had a really high-end steak dinner with champagne and chocolate, and they did deliver. They were in the same community, so it was fairly easy to deploy a delivery team to get out. But then they had a chef talk to people about how to prepare their own steak, since a wonderful catering team was not doing that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
I've been hearing talk about things like, will we never see a buffet again? So some thoughts on from you.
Maybe not for a while.
Yeah, but some thoughts around if we, as we kind of come back together, even in smaller groups, things that you're going to see that might change in menu planning around the sensitivity to gathering and also service.
Yeah. I think that the primary thing that you look at from a strategic perspective, if you will, is what are the barriers between the people and the food to help people keep people safe. So what does that look like? And I think the reason that we talk about getting rid of a buffet is you can imagine kind of the lunch lady look of all that line of plexiglass and someone serving you and handing you a plate at the end is just not very sexy. So I think that's where people are talking about getting rid of buffets for the time being and moving to plated dinners. But we're also looking at, are we serving the plated dinner with a cover, a food cover of some kind, or maybe it's a glass cloche. I mean, you know me, I'm a little bit different. I like to think things a little bit outside the box. So I love like the idea of a Moroccan tagine that gets served to someone.
Oh,
so
very
this
cool.
Beautiful presentation of this gorgeous ceramic thing. I've done this for vegetarians at plated dinners because I love the idea of like someone who's eating that great steak looking over and going, I want that.
Yes.
Because you get that experience of this like surprise underneath the thing, but it isn't a plastic food service cover that was really created originally for us in the back of the house to keep things hot. So
Very cool. Love that idea.
There's things like that are happening. You know, you and I have done an event actually twice, the same group, but we did it twice, that I think it still has some great potential and for this time, and that is the idea of a samurai bento box, where,
Yes.
you know, in this world, in our markets, we have to be super sensitive to allergens. So I think this works really well for that, in the sense that, you know, you've got these little very pretty little boxes that'll have a plastic cover, but you have this selection of things that you can choose from, and maybe you get this nice pretty tray that you can put different things on and create yourself something that's a little bit nicer looking. And so that may be a way of doing a buffet, if you will, but it speaks to people's needs in terms of their dietary needs, but it also speaks to the visual that we all need when we're eating.
Love that. And you know, we have worked together for years, and Shelby and I get together in the foods catering team, and we always, it's like, I know that's how everyone else is doing it. What can we do? You know,
what are we gonna do?
I remember when we introduced the adult slushies or Slurpees in the, you know, frozen popsicles, and that was like way before anybody was doing that. So we always try to push the envelope there. But I do think when Shasta, our speaker this morning, was talking about that connectivity piece, food is a great connector. And even if we're in different physical locations, that experience of food, there's, you know, that's why we dine together and we get with families. And I mean, food is and it's interesting that the discussions have been a little bit around, well, of course there's no food expense because we're all sitting at home. You can decide to eat your vegan whatever, and everybody's just doing their own thing. But I think there's some incredible sponsorship opportunity around a shared food service. And as we got into the, you know, home fresh delivery boxes, that kind of people are already kind of getting used to, I'm going to prepare my own food. It's going to be delivered. You know, I've said that we're lucky when we went to digital, we didn't have to retrain the consumers. They've been living on devices forever, so they're okay with it. I feel the same way about this food delivery service. Has been kind of coming at people. There's a familiarity with it. And I think if groups can figure out how to create a food experience, I love the idea of the food classes or the team preparations. Tell us a little bit more about what that might look like in an event agenda.
Well, we kind of have three different ideas around that we're still working on right now. One is a game, and so you would be sent a kit that would have different tasting things. So we're kind of thinking about, you know, you land on the miracle berries. And you have to eat a miracle berry, which, if you're not familiar with that, you eat this little berry, and everything you eat after you eat that miracle berry for about 4 or 5 minutes tastes sweet. So, you know, we might land there, and then we try vinegar or lemon juice. And so everything is sent in little ways. Or there might be activated charcoal, or maybe there's some finger limes that you have to cut, and you pop open and you get this caviar is what they kind of call it, you know. So it's a food experience that, you know, you've got all these people on a Zoom call, but they're all eating or trying something, and we're playing a game along it. And so maybe the next land might be about, tell us about, you know, maybe it's Margaret. Hey, Margaret, what did your mom cook you when you were sick when you were little?
Oh,
so
nice.
We're starting to create like this shared experience of actually what's happening, but also memories around food and how they connect us as people, because all of us have had amazing meals, but all of us have also had amazing meals around an event. So maybe it was that you were ill, maybe it was your favorite birthday party, you know, whatever it might be. So we're kind of trying to do some team building activities that are not necessarily a meal, but they're around taste experiences.
Love that creativity. And I think that, you know, when we get our $1 million sponsor for Toolkit, we'll send everybody a cool bento box from Foods Catering. But again, I think there's great sponsorable opportunities. I'm thinking about the gamification of food, how fun it might be to do even a scavenger hunt at home, and who has, you know, cumin, and who has, you know, a vegan noodle, you know, and that sort of thing. Really figuring out, making it fun and engaging, just like meals are. You know, and what about your team? How are they doing, and what are their thoughts? Or are they enjoying kind of trying to figure out the opportunity here? Just curious how they're adapting.
Well, I think that I love the saying that, we're all, some people say we're all in the same boat. I don't think we're all in the same boat. I think we're all swimming in the same sea and we're all in different boats. So we bought a building a year ago. So we're under construction of the building when all this started. So our team has sort of shifted into focusing on that. So a lot of our time and focus is really about, building this amazing facility that when we come back, what are we going to do with it, and how are we going to use this, until things return to where we are doing some of the really large, wonderful events, and what can we do with this beautiful place that we're building. So I think my focus is a little different than a lot of caterers today, just because I'm in a different boat, but I'm on the same sea.
Well, I do have a question about bookings. When are you seeing, I know it's a big unknown, but are you seeing event clients booking full-blown live events with catering? And if so, how far out?
Not till next year.
But are they booking into next year? Are they booking?
Yeah. I mean, of course, our phones are not ringing half as much as they once were. But, we're still getting a dozen inquiries a week and writing, half a dozen or so proposals, but they're pretty much all 2021.
Awesome.
And of course, we're working every day with postponements or cancellations or what's happening. The hardest thing, and all of us know this, but the hardest thing is that we don't have the control to know when. If all of us just knew, like, August 1st, we're going to be able to have 150 people at our wedding, we could plan how to make that safe from the perspective of how we produce it and how we serve it. So those conversations could be different. But the difficulty is just in the not knowing right now. So the lack of control that we all feel is the hard part.
How about regulations and communication of safety? As I saw the other day, I posted an email from a sign vendor with some examples. I was so excited to see it was so encouraging. I was like, wait, I want to order signage again. Let's do this. Yeah. But just their proactiveness of saying, these are ways you can make your people in live events feel comfortable and safe. How are you feeling about, will there be regulations for caterers to say, this is how you have to communicate the food safety issues?
Yeah, we're kind of waiting for that to come out. The special events team here in Seattle are working on that. And so we're kind of waiting to hear about that. I think I have all kinds of ideas about it. Again, I'm under construction again. We've opened again. So I kind of feel like we're at the process. We're at the beginning of what we'll see in the future, I think. So like before we ever go on site today, we have someone who gives us, it's a questionnaire. And so that's all about tracing. It's like, we're on site at this time. This is how you reach us. There's a list of questions we have to answer. We have to suit up with personal protection things before we could ever even enter the building. Get your temperature taken, anything like that. I think we're going to see that happening, because what it does is it does two things. It allows that if there is a problem, that we have the ability to trace it back, which is super important. But also, it does what we have to do, which is make people feel comfortable. To know that you're coming into this group and everyone here has had their temperature taken, has answered these questions, is going to make you as an attendee hopefully feel like I'm in as safe an environment as I could be. And I think that that's really our job, is making people feel comfortable and feel safe.
I would agree. And I think that the innovation around, menu planning, it's going to continue. You and I have talked about how we always try to be on the front end of that. So now we have to factor in all those safety concerns and everything from how it's packaged to the service of it, to the food sensitivities and all of that. It's really interesting landscape. But I so enjoy following you. I know we're connected socially, and Shelby is an amazing chef. She's been running this catering business, but I'm watching Shelby prepare meals in her own home, and I just want to be. I'm going to be the first person at your door when we get to start moving around. I'll wear a mask, I promise.
I could use it. I need to move some of this food out. But definitely, I think I always say that when you strip away the world, what you're left with is who your essence is. And, at my essence, I'm just a person who loves to feed others. I love all the pieces of it. So, I think when you take everything away from my world, you're still going to find that.
Love that. And so if you had, I'm really encouraged what I'm hearing you say today, and we haven't been in closest contact as we normally are every week, but I love that you're finding innovative ways to continue to work food in as a really cool connecting piece of any digital event. Any tips or kind of things that planners, you want them to be thinking about before they reach out to caterers in this new time?
I would say just honestly be open to talking about new ways of doing things. I had a great conversation yesterday from somebody from Nintendo, and it was so inspiring just to talk with somebody who was, willing to talk about different ideas and share things, because I think we're better together than we are looking at it from the perspective of mine or yours.
Yeah.
We need to be in this together. I am a super creative brain, but I sometimes need some guidelines. So like if you said to me, Shelby, cook me something delicious, my mind might go through 100,000 things.
Yeah.
But if you said, Shelby, cook me something delicious that's made from carrots, ooh, now I've got like 15 or 20 things going on, So, we all have different needs. And so kind of just being open to brainstorming as a group, I think is super important right now.
I agree. And we're super excited this afternoon. We've tried to incorporate drink, not food and drink, but drink into this afternoon. We have a gentleman joining us as a mixologist. He'll be joining us by Zoom, showing how to make the perfect margarita. So I know you enjoy your beverage. If you want to stay tuned, you can see that. But I just appreciate the encouraging words from you as a valued catering partner.
I do.
Yeah, and I encourage people to ask questions in the chat box. We'll get to those. I know Shelby has to jump, and I value your time, and I value your professionalism and your creativity, innovation, and it's just nice. I'm looking forward to creating a menu with you soon.
Me too.
Thanks
All right.
so much, Shelby.
Bye, dear.
Bye-bye. So we're going to take another quick break, let you guys kind of stretch after, again, enjoy our wonderful food cart, thanks to Royce Prop Shop. Take your virtual photos, and we'll put that slide back up. We're going to take a few minutes, and we'll get back together here at 1 o'clock. Thank you. Welcome back to our afternoon sessions for the Toolkit Virtual Summit. I hope you had a great break, and again, got a chance to get up and stretch, and we're trying to keep the information flowing quickly. We're gonna have a great afternoon of some additional amazing content, and then we're gonna finish up with a fun decor session and then our margarita making session at the end of the day. So it's my pleasure to welcome two amazing professionals and have their insights today around sponsorship, the benefits we're selling, the opportunities that exist in this new digital arena, and just some of the best practices around partnership. So I'd like to welcome Alicia Crank. She's the Chief Development Officer at Work, an amazing organization doing placement for those with disabilities in the workforce. And also Elyse Stoner. She is the founder of Fresh Consulting, and she's been involved with partnerships and sponsorships at the highest level of her game, and some amazing events. And I think that they're going to bring interesting insight to opportunities that exist right now. So I'd like to get started. Welcome, ladies. You look fantastic.
Hey, Lynn, how's it going?
We can hear you well, and okay, we're rolling. How are you adapting to this new landscape? There's so many ways to say this new normal. What are some of the things that you're seeing or you're anticipating in this new landscape around event sponsorship or partnership? Elyse, do you want to?
I'll go ahead. I'll go first.
Yeah.
You know, what I do with Fresh Perspective Consulting and with my clients is everything should be a new, fresh landscape. And what I say right now is a really great time is to take some inventory. You should always know what your assets are. And right now, perhaps our assets are changing a bit. We're not doing as many on-site sort of assets, but there's a lot of really great partnership assets that people can be using and can be creating, which I'm sure Alicia can speak to a bit, of saying like, how are we engaging people? And when I say people, our corporate partners, in what we're doing, and maybe rethinking, spending a little time rethinking what that looks like for them and for us.
Absolutely. I would say the word of the hour, I would say, is pivot. There's a lot of pivoting going on, whether in the for-profit or nonprofit world right now. I think pivoting has always been something that should be key when you're looking at partnerships with each different type of event or activity that you're getting ready to do, but now really kind of opens the door to really lean into it. And so even for our organization, as we've seen how we've had to change how we're going to do our future event that we do as a fundraiser, going back and looking at our current partnerships and looking at how can we leverage some things that we haven't been able to leverage before, especially around technology, and to say, hey, how can we continue to fortify the relationship and do something new and fresh and different at the same time.
I totally agree with you guys. And Elyse, I love that you said your inventory. I've used that word over the years when I'm talking about adding value to a sponsorship packet beyond the live event. So I love just the mention or the thinking around that as all the things that you have to sell to a partner or to offer a potential partner.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And I think it's really important, again, today, 3 months ago, 6 months from now, is really understanding that there's value that you have in your event, in your organization, and kind of knowing what that looks like. You know, imagine being in your storeroom, right? And you just have everything kind of listed there. So when you go and you talk to a partner, it's not, here's sponsorship A, here's sponsorship B, here's sponsorship C. And we'll talk a little bit more about this. It's about truly being a partner. What works for you? What do I have in my storage closet that's going to work for you, and leverage this and make both of these things come together and work for both of us?
Alicia, what are some of I know you've been in the partnership business for a long time. So as you look at the new landscape, are you seeing anything from other models of interesting and unique partnerships that are kind of catching your eye as a new way to engage?
Absolutely. I think, you know, over the past month, in the month of April, I made myself attend 30 plus events, webinars online. One, so I wouldn't be bored. I needed to fill in some time. Two, I wanted to see what other people were doing. And three, just for the sake of homework. And so one of the things that I've been able to see, especially even with an event like this one, is people kind of leaning in to, okay, we need to do something different. We need to, some of us had to pivot a lot faster than others. And those of us that have a little bit of time can take this opportunity to learn what others are doing. I
Yeah.
think one of the things that's come out of what's happening right now is the accessibility issue, right? I think doing events like this has really opened up a lot of doors for new audiences that haven't been able to attend a physical event for one reason or another. And now seeing it as an opportunity to level the playing field, if you will, to say, okay, now I feel like I can attend something and feel like an equal contributor or an equal attendee without someone looking at my disability or someone looking at, how I look in certain places. So I've really been able to look at, some of the things that we haven't paid attention to in the past that we want to try to bring in new people, new talent, new ideas, new inventory to be able to deliver what the intent of that event is, right? The event isn't just to have an event. You're trying to teach something. You're trying to showcase what you can do and how you can do it, for others and with others.
Yeah.
So now that we can, figure out how to do that with newer audiences because of what's happening around COVID, it's been a great learning experience for me. And I think I've just always had this mantra of how do you take an obstacle and turn it into an opportunity? And that's just a mindset I kind of try to have, each and every day as we're hitting walls and having to retool what we do. It's like, how do we see this as an opportunity?
Very good. And Elyse, I know, share a little bit about your background, the kinds of partnerships that you've had, and maybe things that you are seeing that you find to be fresh and a good approach.
Yeah. I won't bore you with all the details, but I come from a large event arena sports marketing background, concerts, rodeos, family shows, the Final Four, things of that nature. So understanding really what it takes to not only be a partner for the corporate side, but how to be a partner and engaging your clients and fans. So that's sort of what I'm doing with Fresh Perspective Consulting, is bringing those ideas to the nonprofit, to the businesses, digging in a little deeper in the higher education world too with that. One of the things, the second part of that is one of the things that I'm seeing, and we're seeing this in the sports world, but this is a great opportunity now, is the use of video. Yeah. People kind of get stuck in a rut and they do what they've always done. And now, we can't print a program, or we can't print a menu, or we can't have the CEO of our top sponsor come up and welcome everybody. But there are ways that we can do that now digitally, virtually, pre-recordedly, and really creating that opportunity for folks to have a presence that maybe we weren't using before. The other thing I think about a lot is when we think about what partnership and sponsorship looks like, so many of us think about dollars. Right. And some of the other people I talk to is, there's 4 types of sponsorship or partnership. Yes, we need dollars to do our thing. It could be some sort of in-kind, which I know a lot of our folks do, product donations. One of my favorites is promotional partnership. It's, you may not be a partner that has a ton of money, but if you speak to the audience that I really need to get to,
right?
How can we utilize, again, your assets, social media, blogs, again, brainstorming those things and saying, how is that going to help me drive my message? Whether it's come to my virtual event, or it's come hear the stories of my folks, or whatever, again, that call to action is, how do we use that? And I think digging into that right now is going to be, it's going to have a lot of mileage.
How do you feel about product placement on the videos, Elyse? Royce Prop Shop. I've been drinking from this all day. It's not tequila yet, but it's funny. I see so much of that, especially in the sports marketing. I'm wondering if you're responsible, Elyse, for my eating so many Tostitos at the Fiesta Bowl. But really, there are some unique partnerships here, right, where people could do some sort of product placement or, again, showcasing other companies on your virtual.
Like
oh
your
yeah,
mug,
like
your logo on your mug. For
love it.
example.
Love it. Alicia, what do you think about that? Are we seeing when we look at your event for fall? That's a breakfast. We just had a caterer on talking about sending meals ahead of time for those participating digitally. That's a cool opportunity.
I was listening to that, and that's something I'm looking at doing for a separate side thing that I do up here in Edmonds. We do a virtual ladies who brunch every Sunday, and I was like, we have a woman-owned food truck up here. I was like, what if we had a special dish that everyone purchased ahead of time, and so when we got together that Sunday morning, we're all having that dish together. So I was listening to that, but I would say, I think there's so many creative ideas that, again, now we have permission to explore. Whereas before, you might have someone in leadership or just an audience that's like, that's just not how we do it. We've just never done it that way. And
Stick
now
to
it's
the
like,
gold.
well, now we kind of have to do it.
Yeah.
And even going back to the different types of partnerships that Elyse was talking about, when I was, at YWCA last year, we had a great partnership with the Seahawks, and it wasn't a money partnership, but it was the fact that they amplified who we were and what we're doing, and just, again, introduced us to a new audience or a new set of audiences that were there before. And so when you talk about what that benefit could be, sometimes the benefit of that promotional partnership is to just let people know that you exist. There's a lot of great organizations out there. And especially right now, we're all, making noise at the same time. It's not staggered out like it was before. So any opportunity that you can have to partner with someone that does get a lot of attention, that can give you 15, 30 seconds of attention, repeatedly, that monetizes, in a different way. So you're right. There's so many different levels of partnership that's not just dollars, or at least not ones that are specific dollars or, at the front end of it.
The one thing I would be really careful of, and it sounds like the one you're talking about with the YMCA and the Seahawks, is to be really, as the entity, you need to be very clear who your target audience is.
Absolutely.
And, when we were talking with Lynn the other day, and she's like, what are some great takeaways for our event planners? That's one. Like, be super clear on who your target audience is. So not only are you approaching the right partners, especially in Seattle, right? Like Amazon, Microsoft. But if you do your homework, you should know where they're spending their money and what's important to them. Do you fit that first and foremost?
No, that's totally true.
Yeah. And from there, then saying, when we're talking about these promotional partnerships, it's, what was it, the Madonna quote, like, any publicity is good or bad. If they're talking about me, it's great. Not really the case here, because if it's not your audience, then people are just going to be confused and be like, yeah, okay, I'm not sure what that was. Next.
Right.
Absolutely.
And that's the key, it's homework. When I talk about corporate partnerships with different groups and people, that's the key thing, is you have to do your homework. And one thing, I think what was interesting with the YWCA partnership the YWCA partnership with the Seahawks, was that they have a large female fan base. And I think people don't think about that. They think, oh, it's just football, so it's football is men. And, the Seahawks has, data up the wazoo that shows that, they have a really strong and large female base that hasn't been targeted, because people will default to, oh, it's male dominated, it's a male sport. So we don't need to really, have certain types of partnerships that promote women or put women first. So that was really great for us in doing that homework with each other and finding, that unique connection to say, this is why this partnership works.
Exactly.
I think that's a great point. And I think this is an opportunity for those who are pursuing funding partners, sponsors, in-kinds, whatever case it may be, to to maybe throw out the playbook around platinum, gold, silver, bronze, the logo soup, and really co-create the sponsorships that are custom. Do either of you have an example of, I know, Alicia, I loved your custom partnership with Comcast and the storage, but if you guys could think of like a custom built, collaborated partnership that only came from deep conversation with those sponsors versus a menu approach. Thoughts on that? Elyse, do you want to start?
Yeah. So when I was the assistant commissioner for the America East Conference, it's a conference that's based in New England, and we were selling sponsorships for our women's basketball championship. And for several years in a row, we had a dairy. It was the Friendship Cottage Cheese America East Women's Basketball Championship. So you're like,
a mouthful.
well, besides that, it was, what was, obviously there was an initial interest, healthy, people eat cottage cheese and, that sort of stuff. Often when they are, watching what they're eating. But as we dug into it, talking about who's making the buying decisions for this incremental purchase, it's women's basketball. We did some really cool things with like young girl role modeling. We did couponing. I'll tell you the one thing we didn't do. We were trying to figure out how to do a halftime contest, and they wanted to showcase their product.
Yeah.
So someone came up with the idea of like, what if we did a cottage cheese eating contest, like center court halftime? Needless, the gentleman who was the operations manager of the facility is a fiery Greek dude. And oh my God, I could still picture like Ted's head just blowing off, thinking like, you want to do what? I'm like, yeah, being people and the operations people aren't always best friends, but it's thinking outside the box like that. I didn't have a cottage cheese eating contest on inventory sheet of things to do.
Yeah.
But we at least explored it, and it was like, how do we do something fun and memorable and that works for the partner? So we wound up doing, I think, some like recipe books that we did as a handout on the way out.
Cool.
So with coupons in it.
Awesome.
So something like that.
Alicia, you want to share either the Comcast or something else that comes to mind that was unique and collaborative?
Well, the other Comcast example I would have would be the one that we ended up working on together was, this kind of Washington Women Who Dare, as YWCA, that we were celebrating our 125th anniversary. So we knew that we want to do a year-long series of things culminating to some type of large event where we would showcase and highlight women in Washington on some level. And in the meantime, with a different relationship that we had with Comcast, they were also looking to do something along those same lines. And as they were doing their thing and we were doing our thing, they saw what we were doing and said, hey, let's not, reinvent the wheel. Let's figure out how do we merge these two things together. And that's what we did. So we were able to, weave a partnership together around this really amazing event where we were able to showcase and highlight not women that were, in civic leadership and also in community leadership, which was really important to us, and to have Comcast be able to use their resources to be able to, find us a great location, to be able to push that out, and to have a great, event planner to bring it all together, and which was something that we didn't necessarily have on tap at that time. So I think that when you're able to see that, you're trying to do something that somebody else is also in that same arena of doing, that there are ways that you can weave those things together, make it successful, but still keep your integrity and identity in what your overall focus was, even separately. And I think that was a really great collaboration between our two organizations in that way.
Makes so much sense. And then are you guys seeing a trend in these sponsor budgets going away or decreasing in a way that we have to retool our sponsor offerings to be more price sensitive? So, if your convention went after a $50,000 premier sponsor, are we being sensitive and seeing pricing come down a little bit and maybe getting more sponsors at a lower level due to their own internal budgets? Thoughts on how budgets are impacting sponsorship?
I would say budgets are are across the board are being impacted, and some are going lower, but some of them are not going lower for the sake of not having the funds, but that especially for corporations, they're now kind of, retooling or reallocating where those funds are going for kind of the emergency support that's happening right now. So I'm seeing that across the board. And a lot of these sponsors don't necessarily want to go away. They're not pulling back any dollars that they may have already committed to you, but you also have to look at future. And one of the things that I've been seeing from a success perspective is that relationships matter. And I think relationship management is being exposed right now. So if you've been a partner with someone and all of a sudden they're not necessarily returning your calls or they're not being as responsive, it's showing something.
Yeah.
And so I'm seeing where I've had the strongest interpersonal relationships, to where they're thinking of me before I can think about them, because we know each other and we have a respectable relationship, versus ones where if they only hear from you when you want something, if they only hear from you when it's time for the ask, that makes a difference. So I haven't seen necessarily a difference in support and funding from a pure dollar perspective, but more so of where do I rank in that relationship with them, along with others that they have partnerships with. And it's really been telling. I'm hearing from a lot of people, and I've just been fortunate to be able to have, the majority of my corporate partnerships have been very positive and very interpersonal, that they've been with me no matter what organization that I've been with. And of course, there's a handful that you just, can't do anything about. But I think the partnership tie-in to how your relationship management is really telling right now.
I would agree, Alicia. That's what a valid point. Elyse, what are your thoughts on decreased spending around partnerships or sponsorship?
So I'm totally on board with what Alicia's talking about. And it's having the conversation, it's having the relationship. And again, whether we're in a pandemic situation or we are in some other sort of situation, budgets are fixed. And not so much that you need to be in queue to get it, but if you have the relationships and you're in alignment, you still kind of have your place in line or in that space. The thing that makes me a little crazy, and what I see people doing, is saying, I have to make X amount of dollars, which is great. I mean, it's good. We should all have goals. But again, we walk in saying, my title sponsorship is $50,000 and my platinum sponsorship is $30,000. Well, not everybody is has a $50,000 pocket. And it's good to kind of have an idea of the value of your inventory, but you also have to play within the market.
Yeah.
And what's a $50,000 sponsorship in Seattle may not be a $50,000 sponsorship in Des Moines. So it's about understanding the value of your assets, understanding who you're partnering with, and trying to figure out what they can spend.
Right. Well, and I think as from Proper Planning's perspective, for 30 years of working with partners, we do try to ask that question first and foremost. What are your goals in partnering? Let's put some key metrics together of what's motivating you to come to the table and even talk to us about an event sponsorship or partnership. And so many times when you ask that first, I've had so many sponsors say, no one has ever asked me that. They've said, I need the money, and this is the tiers you can buy into. So when we've asked that question, I've found the richest, most unique partnerships when you start with that. Because State Farm could come in and say, we want to talk about golf. That's our messaging all year long. And you could be like, well, we didn't plan to have golf, but let's add that in. That was never on the menu. So I think that it's important to continue to create these rich, unique customization opportunities. You have to you have to be curious what they're trying to do, what's motivating them to come to the table. So I appreciate that you guys have had great success with that in some really unique partnerships. What are 2 or 3 key tips you would tell planners that are currently reassessing their budgets, but also saying we still need to go out and ask for partners and sponsors. What are 2 or 3 things that these planners should be thinking about before they venture out into that ask?
I would say, again, do your homework.
Yep.
Know what you have to offer, and know who you're trying to speak with, not only as the partner, but your target. And I would also say, you know, people are still trying to do business. I, like Alicia, have spent a lot of time on webinars and just listening to what people are talking about. And a lot of people are like, well, you know, people are losing their jobs, and I don't know that now's the right time to be doing some fundraising. But I think that the question as it pertains to this is people are still trying to get their message out, and people are still trying to find their place in the new. So don't be afraid to reach out to a new partner now. You know, just because you haven't had a relationship with them before, there's no reason that you can't now. And if you don't ask, you don't know what's important to them. Maybe they're looking for something new and creative, and you are the one that can provide that.
Excellent.
I agree. I would say, again, going back to that homework piece, is that it's not just so much as saying that you know what they do, but being able to convey that you know what they do and how they do it. So be able to kind of go into it knowing that you understand what their business model is and what it is that their focus is on. And I think the other tip would be to make sure that you highlight what your value add is. If you're not able to convey why a partnership with you makes sense, why doing something with your organization makes sense, don't make them do the work. Don't make them have to figure out why it would be good to partner with you if you're the one that's coming to them. And it's not being braggadocious. It's just saying that, you know, this is our value. This is what we do. This is what we're good at, or this is the market, the audience that we can bring to what it is that you're trying to do. This is how we can be advantageous for each other.
That's awesome.
I think it's also super important, if I may, talking about working with business partners, right? The whole idea of none of us are really good at everything. So working with partners like Lynn, and having someone like Alicia, like on your board, or to help you out, like, don't be afraid to ask for help if it's not your wheelhouse, because there's other people who it is their wheelhouse, and they're probably really interested in helping you.
Yep.
That's an amazing tips from both of you. I think that, you know, something else that I've found is when you do the work to understand the potential partner and their business model, and you get to the decision maker, it's what you said, Elyse, around having an understanding of your entire inventory. Because if you do the work to find that decision maker, it's super important to kind of bring the whole buffet to them, so that they can buy into different offerings other than just a one and done live event. You know, so I really appreciate both of you joining us. Incredible insight from people who are in the trenches doing sponsorship asks in this day and age, and continuing to innovate and be out front with ideas, and for sharing with our event planners things that they should be considering when they're doing their sponsorship planning. So I really appreciate it. Thank you both for joining us. Any final comments?
This is really great. Thank you for putting this together and for bringing all of us together. Lynn and I actually met, full disclosure, we met on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the opportunity to spend some time with you guys, and event planners, spend some time on LinkedIn, because you never know who you're going to meet.
Great tip for a sponsorship. Alicia, anything, final comments?
No, this has been great. Again, I'm loving seeing how you've been able to, again, you're in that pivot space. And I know you're going to be in that pivot space for a while. So I'm enjoying seeing what you're doing with it and being a part of it. So thank you.
Thank you both for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Thank
Go ahead
you.
and sign off. We're excited, everyone, to bring you our next panel discussion. Give us a few minutes to transition here, and we'll have all of our new panelists. This one's a big one. Got a lot of panelists joining us because it's the technology panel, event technology, which we're all dealing with. And we're going to have quite a lineup joining us. So again, bear with us. We're making a quick change and getting everybody into the right location here. I'm getting my notes up so I got everybody. Welcome. Hey, Allie. Good to see you. Hi, Ann. Richard's coming to us from somewhere beautiful, Victoria, BC. I love your backdrop, Richard. It's awesome. Hi, Hilary.
Hi, thanks.
Hilary and Ann. And then in studio with me, I have Laurel. Laurel's here with Seamless Events and been a tremendous partner. So I just want to share in full disclosure, these folks have made today possible. And I really want to recognize them for their thought leadership and their openness to helping us bring Toolkit to life. So we're really excited to talk tech. And been doing this a long time. I think I'm fairly tech savvy for an older lady, but I'll tell you, I'm in a new frontier, people. So I'm so glad we have the pros gathered here today. We have Hilary Laney, the owner and CEO of Evia. Her and her team that's working remotely are bringing us the live stream platform. So hi, Hilary.
Hello.
Laurel Miller, president and the founder of Seamless Events, and they provide AV solutions.
Hello.
And I just saw Jen pop in here. Hi, Jen.
Hi, everyone. It's good to be here.
Jen is with Kingen Kush Solutions, and she's a consultant in digital technology solutions. And she's been doing this a long time, so I'm super excited to have her perspective. And she's joining us from Chicago. Is that right?
Yes.
Very good, very good. We have Richard Sweeting from YepDesk, again from the beautiful Victoria, BC. And Richard is with YepDesk, and they have technology solutions end-to-end from registration and apps. And they are the generous host of our Toolkit app that we'll be using to connect our community. We've got Allie with us. Allie, founder and CEO of Hub. You've been in the tech space a while, way ahead of us. So looking forward to having your expertise. And I know that you're currently working on a digital summit for later in May, right? So you're in the trench as the event owner.
Yeah, it's so much fun to get to put your meeting planning hat on and actually go through planning an event, because it really gives you an appreciation for all the hard work that you've been going through on putting this together.
Well, I think when you're forced to use the tools, it really, it stretches your skill set for sure. And then we've got Ann with us from eventcore. Again, we've talked about their partnership as a registration platform. And we just, again, thank you. Amazing panel of experts. We will make sure for all the viewers that you have the ability to connect with these individual solution providers and for your next digital event. So let's jump in here. How are you seeing your technology solutions adapt during this time of digital events? And I'll start, Laurel, with you about just how you're seeing the changes to the use of your tools.
Well, certainly this has been a new experience to try and broadcast live from the studio and incorporate some Zoom calls and a platform, a content delivery platform. And so it's been a really neat learning experience and really fun to be able to add production value and to add sort of more of a wow element to this Toolkit presentation. So that's been really exciting. In terms of looking towards the future, we're thinking about kind of what does it look like to have a presenter stay at home, and how do we help them to deliver their content in the most visually appealing and the most engaging way. And so we've developed sort of some different tiers that we're offering, from just a consultation on your equipment to us sending you a kit with a little bit more professional grade gear, to doing a pop-up studio similar to this, a little bit smaller in size, or come on down to Portland and join us in the live stream studio.
Awesome. Jen, I know your background is, again, in the consulting of digital strategy. So tell us a little bit about your background and how you're seeing, I would assume, people looking to you for some guidance on strategies here.
Yeah, no, great question. So I've been in the space for 10 years. I started planning my first event in 2009 for PCMA. I'd worked with PCMA for many years, planning their digital events and doing consulting in this space. So I know the space very well, and I know that, oh my gosh, moment when you have to plan the event and figuring out how to best do that. But from doing it 10 years and seeing what we did with PCMA and the events that we consulted for, and then I also led the Digital Experience Institute, which does education certification in this space. We've seen the space just really grow and how it can really support your pipeline and your strategies for your organization. We did an ROI report on that. And it's really an exciting time, even though what got us here is not that exciting that we're all in this space, but there's so much opportunity going forward. As we're dealing with the now moment, the future is going to be bright in the ways that people can connect. So and as the technologies are innovating, it's a really exciting time. So yeah, I focus on the strategy and the production of how to put it together, but the world is your oyster when you have everyone that can join you from any corner of the world.
That's awesome. Allie, how about you? I know you were a technology company in midstream before this all happened. And then some thoughts on what you're seeing as far as your customers and what the tools they're using, and how has your landscape changed the last couple months?
Yeah, it's such an interesting. So prior to being an event technology founder, I ran and managed an agency. So I got the incredible opportunity to get to work with Hilary and Anne for years across Microsoft, planning and managing their events. So I sort of look at things with a meeting planner hat on, and now with a technology hat on as well. And I think so many people they always asked about how are events recession proof? And that was an easy answer. Events still have to happen even if people don't have money, right? But no one ever asked me, how are events pandemic proof? Because that's a totally different question that I'd never thought to answer. So, I think a lot of people are just completely swept off their feet. I've had people calling me in tears saying, my event is next week. What the hell am I going to do? Because it's just not anything we've ever had to think about before. So, I think there's a lot of grace right now of learning, of adapting, but I think we're all trying to figure out what it means. And I have people calling me freaking out and saying, I need a platform. I have a event for 2 hours for 200 people. I'm like, why do you need a platform? Just go to meeting or go on Zoom. Like, that's super easy. It's one session, 2 hours. Like, what are you trying to recreate? So I think we all have to take a deep breath. We have to go back to what are the goals and objectives that we're trying to do. If it really is just a webinar for 2 hours, that's great. And you can have a webinar for 2 hours. If you want to bring in engagement and some of the other event activities that you might have had, then maybe you need to look at pursuing different platforms. So I'm really trying to help our industry and people that I'm talking to just go back to their original goals and objectives, to put their straight thinking cap on of what are all the options from the most low budget and easiest to implement to maybe an experience that I want to define. And so we're seeing people use a variety of different tools because there is no one fits all tool. Like, there are different tools for different reasons. And so we're just trying to help our customers think clearly on what options there are for them.
I think it's so interesting being in the planner's shoes of, we've got 6 or 7 events coming up, and I have been through demo, fatigue like you wouldn't believe, and trying to figure out the pieces and parts. I knew in a live event that it was, a place to be and some lights, camera, action, and you got to feed some people, and they need a badge to, I knew all that stuff. And this thing, and I wasn't opposed to putting multiple tools together. And what I find interesting is a lot of planners are rushing to, I want a one-size-fits-all solution. Just tell somebody, please tell me what tool to use, when the answer is very gray and depends on your needs. Multiple tools. Richard, I'd like to bring you into the conversation around, your company, and you guys are based outside of the United States and have been trying to make a push to come in and share your amazing technology tools. Tell us a little bit about YepDesk and how you're finding the use of, I know mobile app is one that Toolkit will be deploying to stay connected to our community, but tell us a little bit about YepDesk and the tools that you're currently providing.
Sure, of course. So yes, the primary function of YepDesk is to enable event goers to connect. So when we started out, the idea was you'd attend an event, you'd install the app, and then you can connect with people and chat online, offline. As you go home after the event, you can maintain those connections. What we're seeing now going forwards is as the events move online, we're having event planners tell us that they don't know how to measure the participation and engagement. So traditionally you would, you'd follow up with phone calls, you'd be able to shake hands, take business cards, but it's very hard now to measure how many people are watching this stream and checking their emails, how many people are wandering off and getting a cup of tea. So what we're looking at now is the analytics. So how many people, are actually engaging and asking questions, how long are they staying muted? So providing that data will be able to then inform the event planners of virtual events of what's working and what isn't, and that's really, key, I think. It's because you can invest tons in a platform, and unless you know it's working, it could be money down the drain. So that's what we're focusing on now. It's making sure that we can tell the customers we're providing value.
I think that's amazing. And I've had a lot of people say, I'm not sure if I need a mobile app since I'm on people's screen, but what I find interesting, if you haven't bought a very complex functionality tool that has socialization and connect after the live event, it's fine to be in the chat box and be sharing ideas, but a lot of people have asked me, how do I get in touch with Hilary and Allie, and how do I connect with them? I guess I could go to LinkedIn, but how do I do that inside of the community of Toolkit? And I think the app's going to serve us well in that regard. So again, Test Kitchen, happy to check that out and appreciate you guys building it and we're testing it. Hilary, I'd love to ask from your perspective, as you see things through the live stream lens, are you seeing any best practices around the use of a streaming content? Just things that planners should be considering when their audience is sitting at home and you're streaming content their way?
Yeah, so you have to forgive me. The moment I didn't realize that my monitor is on in the background and my husband is putting my son down for a nap right now. So the reality of being at home and working. So sorry for the background noise. No, there's definitely some things to keep in mind for the live stream. I think one thing that we really encourage people to do when they're preparing for that live stream experience is thinking through how the audience interaction is going to take place. So making sure that if you need a moderator, like for example, in this case, we've got that moderated chat at the bottom, but someone to kind of help support the presenter and make sure that they're ready for that virtual delivery, because, just like being on site and that go live moment for a presenter on stage, it's critical that they're ready for that. I mean, even just today, so I don't do a lot of public speaking, but in this case, for example, I mean, we're all sitting in the waiting room of Zoom and I can't really see anything, right? Like I don't have the ability to, unless I log in on another screen to see what Lynn you're talking about with the audience and everything. But realistically, like I'm just kind of looking at that screen versus being in the room and kind of knowing what's coming. It's just a different environment. And being a presenter, you're trying to kind of go through that checklist of like, okay, am I ready? What does it look like when it goes live? And, when we flip the switch on, I see all these familiar faces and it's like, okay, I'm good. But you still kind of need that coaching in advance. And so obviously that in conjunction with the same way that you would work with your AV team on site, it's, working with your streaming provider and making sure that they understand exactly what your goals and objectives are. And you've gone through and you've tested and, all of what that experience is going to be. But, the translation to virtual, there's definitely some shift that needs to happen in terms of the strategy and what tools to use. But that live stream and that go live moment is still just as critical, and you need to have that support around you.
I would agree. I'm having, again, such empathy for event planners, but also speakers and attendees trying to get in. You're really walking a mile in people's shoes in this digital experience. But thank you for that, Hilary. I appreciate it. And then, and we're facing, again, Test Kitchen. We have these Zoom calls set up and the speakers are coming in and, Alicia was speaking and I see the admit to the, you love the security of that Zoom, but then you're seeing this pop-up admit window and our crew team, tech team that's in the other room, I'm sure is going, we got to troubleshoot this thing. We didn't quite go through all of the scenarios and it's hard to do that. And I'd love to chat with you about, thank you again for your support in the registration of our virtual summit and eventcore and some of the learnings that you're finding with people going into a digital platform. I would assume people had to go in and authenticate when they registered with you when they were doing a live event, right? But are you seeing technology challenges from the attendees trying to understand all the moving parts, or some thoughts around what you're seeing and how you're impacting best practice for registration?
I think with registration, the core element is really around the people and who the people are that are coming to the events, where they're coming from, what their interests are, and being able to take that information and use that going forward into the event, right? That's kind of the goal of registration. You're getting people in, maybe there's a fee collection, but it's really about the data. And so a part of that has kind of always been that authentication element, knowing who people are, getting in, making sure they can come in and make changes when they need to. I think the thing that we've seen really in the virtualization or the move to digital is kind of a stronger emphasis on single sign-on and the security that is afforded by that, leveraging those kind of consistent providers to be able to access the system and know that that data is really secure. You know, in a virtual space, we're using all these different elements where sometimes when you get to an in-person program, you kind of forget about, oh, I registered online, or you're using the mobile app, and you know, there's kind of a limited element of that virtual piece. And in this digital age, we really have to keep that security up front and center. And so being flexible and helping attendees navigate that, you know, a lot of people have worked through it, you know, when they're attending live events, that's still an aspect of it. But now that they're having to remember their password and which account they use and that kind of thing, we've had to, you know, support people through that process. So definitely the ability to be flexible and working with our partners to make sure that that experience works for them is really important. And, you know, we learn things along the way. And so every time we spin up an event and we work through something, we figure something new out, and we take that into the next opportunity to make sure that we're you know, learning as we go. That's an important part of growth in any aspect of life.
Well, and I think that that's exactly right. Your openness, everybody's openness, even on this panel, to trying to find the best guest experience. You know, you just think about it. If I registered online, if I couldn't get through that technology, if I couldn't figure out how to get registered, I'd still just walk up the escalator and can I have a badge? And away I'd get. When really now that entire experience of getting in to view on something is on the attendees' level of technological savvy. You know, we got questions about, well, why do I have to go through these multiple sign-ins? Am I having to register again? It's, you know, it's frustrating. But there's a reason all those exist, and I think kind of communicating that to your guest of this is why, you know, your safety is our priority here. We had the founder of Netflix speak, and he kept saying, it's your job to remove as many friction points as possible. He said, do you know how excited our team was when we came up with go to the next episode or skip intro, or there's a reason Netflix just keeps you rolling. And I think that's you know, that was an interesting point around technology. Just make it as easy as possible, but you have to think of all those security things and then how to communicate all these tools. By the way, this is an app, it's different. By the way, Laurel's using a sign-in, and you know, by the way, these guys. So it's just an interesting landscape. I appreciate your perspective on that. I'd love to go around the horn and just talk about a kind of one tip from everybody around a challenge point with currently working with planners. And this isn't to call us out, it's intended to make us all be better customers of yours. So I'll start with maybe Laurel. Just you have one like friction point or challenge with the planners that we could do better?
I would say the idea of offering each other a lot of grace is really true right now, and that's something that you brought up, Lynn, and it's this idea that we don't expect you to know everything. We don't expect you to know every detail of how the technical aspect works. I had a planner that I was talking to that said, hey, I'm going from being a live event planner to somehow being like a TV producer. And I really don't know how to do that. And I feel like I have to do all these things that I've never done before. And she was surprised to find out that, hey, we do a lot of this stuff every day. We've been doing it for a long time. We can help you, you know? And so I think it's a lot just everybody kind of taking their guard down and saying, hey, you know what? Some of this is new. This is our first time live streaming from the studio and having a Zoom call in the same broadcast. And, you know, we learned some things along the way, and that's how it's going to be. I mean, we're all kind of going through this in a new experience. So that's what I would say, is just come into it with a really open spirit. And that's something I really appreciate about you, Lynn, is that you really do that. And you want to learn and get better. And it's okay to fail. Sometimes we're going to make mistakes, and we're going to make it better.
I would agree, and thank you, Laurel. I appreciate that. Your team has been amazing as we learn side by side. Jen, some thoughts from you around a digital consumer or a customer of digital products? Any tips or challenge points where you can advise here?
To look at all the different options. There's a whole landscape of options, but I think when you really start, you have to look at being open-minded and having a growth mindset. So, I'm getting lots of calls that they want to take this meeting and just put it online. And it's really a time to innovate. So I think anyone that's looking at, from a customer standpoint, it's looking at back to what the goals and objectives are and that user experience, and then helping to design for that. So just having that open mind, the more conversations we have, the more and more people are going, I get it. And, we can start small this year and then make everything grand for next year. But if you go in with that, knowing that you don't have to do everything this moment, and that you're not trying to take this whole convention and putting it online the same way, it can be kind of refreshing. You're not alone. So we're all in this together, and there's lots of people to help you along the way.
I think that's a great point. Allie, are you seeing customers that are engaging with you again and actually having that meeting planner hat in your toolkit to say, as planners approaching Hub, what are some of the things that you see that maybe we're stumbling at, and other things that you're seeing as kind of tips and best practice to make sure we engage correctly with your team or to optimize the partnership with you?
Yeah, I think regardless of the vendor that you're talking to, having a very clear idea of why you host your event and what's important to your event. A lot of people come and say, well, that's what I want you to tell me as a part of the platform. And I'm like, well, no, the platform just services up whatever your strategy is. Like, tell me, is it important for people to connect? Is it important for your keynote speakers to be responding to live Q&A and switching their presentation based on the polling results that are coming back? Is it really about CEU credits and you just need learning and people just have to sit there for an hour and check the box? So I think it's really understanding what the goals and objectives are about your event, and then talking to the virtual event providers of why is that strategy important and how can your tool help bring this to life, will end up with much better results. Because I think everyone in the industry thinks 90s video game when they think virtual event, and that's okay if that's what you want, but I don't think that's necessarily what you want. And so I think we're in a time of evolution like none other, where virtual event providers have been around for 15, 20 years and haven't made any changes in their platforms at all, because it just really hasn't been a thing. And we've never had to think about recreating a live in-person event in a virtual environment before. So we're all going to be blown away by the technology innovations that happen from all sorts of different companies over the next 6 to 12 months as we really figure out what this can look and feel like. And so knowing your goals and objectives and being very clear on what you're trying to achieve allows you to not be limited by the platform, and instead make sure your goals and objectives are obtained.
And I love that perspective, because I've always been about the strategic thinking in events, and sometimes we were just in this rinse and repeat mode. We always have 200 vendors and they are in this ballroom, and and it's like, this is a pretty cool opportunity to just hit pause and think, do we need the trade show? And when you say that, sometimes, especially to a board, they're like, wait, what? We're not gonna, and I'm like, let's just think about what we're really trying to do here. The other thing that I find interesting is even the terminology, virtual event, digital event, online summit. And I talked to a gal the other day, and she lived in the space of virtual reality. So she was looking for a platform, or her expectation was of like an immersive virtual, like put on the goggles. And I was like, oh, maybe we're not speaking the same. I mean virtual as in they're not in the ballroom, they're now sitting at home. You're talking about immersing them in some Thunderdome. I don't quite, okay, let's, so even the terminology is a little interesting. Hilary, you're laughing at me as usual, but your thoughts on kind of how people can be good customers of yours?
Yeah, I think one thing that I've really appreciated with a lot of the planners that we've been engaging with is actually their knowledge that they're bringing as well. I'm like blown away by the pivot that planners have made in the last 2 months. And I think that the more of these types of sessions and also other virtual events, attending as many as you can so that you can kind of get in your mind that that visual of how you would like to see this. There's so many cool things that are being implemented. I feel like, especially in the last couple of weeks and definitely moving into the summer, A lot of them are starting to go live, and just immersing yourself in that as much as you can, because kind of to Allie's point, and Jen actually, as far as the strategy goes, it's like if you already kind of have that idea in your mind, it helps on, at least from our perspective, to talk through that a little bit more. And I think having, you know, the thing with the technology is like, when we're in person, everyone has that visual, right? We've all been to events. We've all experienced what that looks like. Someone says an expo hall, we know what that looks like. I mean, we have this all kind of just tapped into our reflex. We don't even have to think about these things. And it's just different. We're in a different space now. And so I think that collaboration is really important, and being able to kind of work together on what that is ultimately that you're trying to achieve. So then, at least, you know, when we're thinking about the platform and the direction that we're going, because the technology that we live in right now, to Allie's point, we've been in the hybrid space. So a lot of what we've been doing is so focused on the content. And so our product and our deliverable, that's priority number one, and has been for so long. And now all of a sudden it's like, yeah, but nobody's in person anymore. So everyone needs to be able to interact and talk to each other and see each other. And, you know, and so I think that being in this new space, it's like, yeah, let's talk about these ideas and really figure out ways that we can build them out and create those experiences and manipulate the tools too, you know,
Right.
and try to come up with cool new experiences.
Totally agree. I would love it if, you know, for many years I would tell vendors, can you just give me a lookbook, or let me see how that front entrance unit that you're going to build as a decorator, can you show me a few good examples? So one thing I would say to all the technology partners as you're building these new events is thinking about creating this portfolio in a way that the next person can help visualize what the experience will be, and also, you know, pushing out best practices, or, hey, I know you're thinking of using our tool, tune in Sunday when we're doing this other event, you may want to see what it's like so that you can have a better, so insight, just a lookbook, make me understand kind of what that visual thing is. Richard, some thoughts from you around some wins with clients and things that have been really successful as far as how they're coming to you as a solution provider?
Sure. Well, I think everyone's kind of struggling to adapt, really. There's been several mentions of pivoting right now. And I've had conversations with a couple of clients here in Victoria recently. And what's really useful for us, for event planners, is when they're upfront about the challenges they're facing, but also the limitations they've got. Like, so it might be bandwidth, it might be the amount of time, it might be the expertise, the technological expertise to actually use these new platforms. So we can provide a platform for you, we can build you an app, but if you don't know how to use it, if you don't know how to upload it to your app store, if you haven't got the staff that know how to use it and show people how to use it, then it's just going to fall apart. So really what I've found useful is just having those conversations and really getting down to the truth of basically how we can help, what you can do, and then what you want us to do, because we're a technology company, we've got the expertise, we're here to help. So just come to us, be honest, say, look, I don't know how to do this, I don't know how to install this app, I don't know how to install an APK, and we'll talk you through it. So so we're here to help.
Excellent. And I think it goes back to that vulnerability of not having all the answers, you know, and relying on those other pros that do those other things. And any closing thought around just kind of a tip or best practice you'd like people to think about when working with eventcore?
Yeah, I think just really echoing what everyone said, I think that collaboration is really key, but to kind of expand on it a little, I think there's also an element of collaborating with the other providers that are working on the program. So sometimes it is a one-stop shop and you've got one tech provider being included, but in instances where you have multiple companies working together, really connecting those groups is a really great strategy to make sure that you're really leveraging the product to its full capability. You know, the space is so big, but it's also really closely knit and networked. And so a lot of times we've worked with those providers in the past and we're familiar with their tools, and we're able to speak to that and work together and say, you know, this is a strength of our system, this is a strength of your system. Let's figure out how to make this experience the best it can be for those attendees. And we can really drive some of that cohesiveness to really make it feel like one event, rather than kind of just separate technologies that are kind of being pieced together to make something happen. So I think it's just about inviting everyone into the conversation and connecting all those dots to really blend that and create that cohesive experience.
Well, I know we had a lot of amazing pros today. I just want to thank everybody for their top level thinking and their best practices and tips. I look forward to featuring each and every one of you on our weekly Toolkit video where we can dig in a little deeper into each of the solutions. But we've got Laurel with Seamless Events for audiovisual and support there. We've got Allie does an amazing job with her virtual tools on content management, and I'm sure other tools that are being built out on Hub to support digital events. Richard and YepDesk that can do all kinds of things in the technology space. Jen, an incredible resource, and your work, 10 years of work for PCMA trying to figure out digital. You're out front. You were a rock star in digital long before we all had to be, and I just really want to thank you for joining us. I know it's a different time zone. Hilary, your live stream platform, thank you today for creating a space where we can broadcast, and you and your team for getting everybody into our system here. So thank you, everyone. We look forward to continuing to share great ideas from all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yep, thank you.
Everyone.
We're going to just bear with us as we change everybody and they pop off their Zoom calls, and we welcome our new panelists in here. Thank you for whoever's driving in the back room on this technology. I appreciate it. And they're in a whole different room from us to make sure we have following all the guidelines. Hey, Stuart, I see we got Jena and Felicia, I think, is on there as well. So, hi, everybody. Good afternoon. How are you?
Hello.
Hi, Jena, you can hear us, and Felicia?
I can hear you.
You guys look amazing. Way to go on the making sure you were well lit. Looking awesome, interesting backgrounds. We're coming to you live from the studio in Portland. We have with us today Stuart Butler with Butler Seattle, Butler Transportation, and the founder of the new owner of the Northwest Events Show. So he's working hard to bring our community together and producing an amazing event we should all know about and participate in. We have Jena with us from Sun River Resort. I know she's here in the Portland area, but beautiful Sun River Resort, an amazing venue, retreat, golf in Central Oregon. And we have Felicia on with us with the Hotel Zags. And Felicia's pulling interesting duty of security manager at her hotel's currently closed, right? So you're also stretching your toolkit to include head of security.
Yeah, director of sales and security is what I'm newly calling it.
Well, I appreciate you all. You're all very valued partners of ours, and today we want to talk about this vendor relationship and how that's transitioning and being impacted by our current situation. And so I just want to share, if you guys could, a little bit about yourselves and kind of what you're currently experiencing. It'd be insightful to know that. Jena, do you want to start?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been with the resort for 6.5 years, and I've been in the hospitality industry for a decade. And I actually started during the 2008 recession into hotels. So I feel like I'm having a flashback. I've done all this growth over the last decade, and now I'm going right back to the scrappy ways that we used to do things in the hotel world. So, as far as adapting to the current environment right now, my director and I, we went from having a team of 25 of us on the conventions and sales team to the 2 of us. And I'm like, we really just need to remember that we're the Nordstroms in this and not the Goodwill. So having that flexibility with people, as a legacy resort in the Northwest, we have 60% repeat clients. And so the last thing we want to do is go and sever those relationships. But you also have to remember the integrity of the business that you're trying to maintain and have some kind of semblance of normalcy, So yeah, we're really, looking how can we provide great flexible cancellation for our groups that, maybe isn't necessarily the best for the resort, but is best for the client. Deferred deposits, cash flow is, an issue right now for a lot of companies. So yeah, just looking to Nordstrom's to be our guide and doing our best in the environment.
That's amazing. I love that you're pointing out that the integrity of those relationships, and I think having gone through a couple of, ebbs and flows in this business after 30 years, you do realize that just like the relationships are most important in sponsorship and funding partners, these relationships with these valued vendor partners that allow you to, to produce your events is critical. Stuart, thoughts about what are you experiencing? I know you wear 2 hats, not only in your own business, that's a a provider to the industry, but then also as a show owner, an event owner that's trying to make some decisions. Kind of thoughts about what you're experiencing?
Yeah, so in the transportation and parking, it was a complete shutdown really fast. And I would say that right now we're just really evaluating kind of what the rebound looks like, positioning ourselves for the rebound, understanding what that looks like. Maybe we've had one call in the last, sorry about that. That's how anemic it is. And it's interesting. Forgot to shut off the dog. I want to shut that door real bad. We're live. Hey,
We're
Corey,
live.
would
You know
shut
what? Live TV. We
there
get
we
it.
go. So I think we're having to be patient there. We just have to be patient, not forcing, but really evaluating what's going on. An opportunity that's interesting. An opportunity came up the other day, and we're getting involved in this east to west food drive, where we're bringing food from the farmers over to the where it's needed on this side, and for food drives, and Food Lifeline and such. So it really was an opportunity actually to get involved in the community in a different way. And in the last 2 days, we've just kind of dove in and started raising funds for this and getting engaged. So it's really kind of interesting. It's the most energy that I've had in to do something, and it feels like the right thing. So even though, and I think that's putting us in front of the community. So I think there's an element that even though we're not focused on the industry, but we're focused on community right now, and that's really where we are.
That's an interesting opportunity and a silver lining, like you said, to be able to get your transportation fleet up and running, doing something really great. What about the Northwest Events Show and kind of, I know we have been in touch around the decision process and the new format, and hopefully I found a lot of nuggets today in what we've presented from our experts, but where are you in that thought process around your show? Are you just digging in, trying to figure out our options?
It's about I think it's education right now, in that I'm spending half my days in webinars and trying to understand the industry and really get a better knowledge of what's going on. We've had twice now. We've had full emails ready to go out, and we've almost changed our position of how are we approaching where we're going, from a soft approach to a leadership to the technology. Are we going to lead? We want to lead. And so we're working on making those adjustments right now, and it's a really there's so much happening, right? There's just so much happening, and so we're finding we're getting our strategy right, and we want to make sure. And actually, that's an interesting thing, because we're really focused on that strategy part right now, taking that step back and saying, hey, before we go forward, let's make sure our strategy is proper. And we're actually taking the extra time to do that right now.
And holy smokes, can we just talk about needing to have an entire communication team with these, when you're making these pivots, and it's like, you want to strike the right tone with this message. You don't want to alarm people. You want to be sensitive. You want to be forward thinking, but not, it's just, anyone who's doing, like someone else said today on the panel, find the person who does that for a living. These communications about your events and which way you're going, they're stretching our ability as far as just, we know what to say, but saying it the right way. So hot tip, if you have somebody that is in the communication field that can do a bit of a proof for what you're saying to your attendees, that would be great. Felicia, I love your beautiful background here. Tell us a little bit about what you've experienced at the Hotel Zags here in Portland. And you've been a seasoned veteran for a long time in the hotel business, building relationships, but tell us some of the things that you're going through.
Yeah, so definitely some PTSD from 2008. I also started then in the industry. So, you know, it's worse, obviously, we all know that. You know, but something that I'm finding, we made the decision to suspend service relatively early on. And that was a cost saving option for us. Occupancies are not very high at this point. You know, so we suspended service, we shut our doors. You know, I come into work every day with my dog and watch the security cameras and answer the phones and talk to customers. You know, I think the thing that I'm finding more and more, that I'm reminded by how resilient we are in this industry and by how adaptive we are. You know, I think innovation is what we all do best to a degree. And I think that, you know, as the cleanliness protocols change, we're gonna adapt to those changes. And someone, you know, maybe it's us, maybe it's Viceroy, maybe it's Kimpton, are gonna come up with a really cool, fresh, exciting way to present cleanliness. And how do we make that cool? You know, Marriott's doing some really cool things with the spray gun, you know, the sanitization. We're going to be adding a sanitization station to the lobby. And we actually found these UV phone cleaners. So while guests are checking in, they can put their phone in the UV box and it completely sanitizes your phone.
Wow.
So I think it's going to be interesting to see how we recover. And I am very excited to see how much wiser we are as a result of the things that we're having to adapt to at this point. The other thing that I will say for Portland, you know, we're a really tight-knit community. I think a lot of people are very well aware of that. But the way that this has brought the Director of Sales and Marketing, in my opinion, together has been really cool. You know, I talk to my fellow DOSMs here in downtown almost every day now. And before it was, you know, we'd see each other at a networking event, we text each other once in a while, but now it's a daily conversation of, what are you experiencing? How's it on that side of Broadway? You know, this is what we're seeing over at the Zags. Is there anything you guys need? So it's really broadened our communication and really, I think, helped keep our network more engaged. So
I think that's interesting. I do think we're very resilient and innovative, and it's just playing to our strengths, because again, being the hardest hit, it's playing to our strengths. Jena, some of the things around Sun River, you guys golf is open, is that right? So you guys you have your golf guests coming, and is the resort open?
It is opening back up on May 15th. So
okay.
Similar to Felicia, we made the decision early on to close our operations.
So you're having still guests come to the resort for the amenities, but you're opening back up in the lodging side soon. And when you talk, Jena, about those partnerships and those long-term clients, are you walking through the business impact for yourself as a partner? And I say this from being a hotelier for many years. You know, oftentimes these clients want that grace and that understanding about their personal what they're experiencing, but sometimes they don't understand that at the end of the day, our partners are in business, and there's the business model, business acumen of being a solution, not a solution provider. I was on the tech panel, pardon me, but being a vendor partner that has, you know, people we need rely on to produce events. Tell me a little bit more about those conversations and kind of how you're educating your planners around your pain points and kind of what things they should be considering when dealing with, when we kind of try to jump back online here. What should we as planners be thinking about?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think 90% of our job is all like rainbows and butterflies, right? And as a salesperson, you know, those are the conversations you want to have, or all the good conversations and the great times and let's grab happy hour. But when it comes to, let's talk about attrition and cancellation, you're like, okay, we'll go there. Yeah. And I think really where we have found the best bridge in these conversations over the last 6 weeks is just transparency. Like, let me tell you where we're at. You tell me where you're at, and we're going to find a middle ground, because at the end of the day, we're not going to, you know, going to court's going to cost us both more money. At the end of the day, like, we want you to come back. We need you to come back. You need somewhere to go. And we've done this long enough. Like, let's just quit the dance and let's get down to, you know, brass taxes, and let's just figure it out for both of us. So I think really transparency at the end of the day has helped us just prolong those relationships and make sure that, you know, both sides understand what we bring to the table.
Absolutely. And I think someone earlier today was mentioning if a hotel was opening back up and they had a presidential suite that we could do a virtual show from or record from there. I'm like, there are some really unique ways to get back in partnership before we kind of come all the ways back in. Stuart, some things as far as when you're evaluating your transportation business and you start thinking about, are you retooling your services as the landscape changes? So changing your offerings, if we're not going to have a bus service because we're not getting people from the hotel to the convention center, what are other ways? Do you have any other like innovative solutions of ways people can be in partnership with you right now? I mean, you mentioned the food thing, but are you, I guess I'm asking, like, your menu of services, is your team now currently in there trying to figure out how can we still provide some sort of great vendor relationship to planners?
Yes, so the first thing we did is we sterilized all our vehicles. So all our vehicles are, because there is still transportation that's going to be needed. So our vehicles, the first thing we did is we sterilized them. We got what's called an ozonator. So actually we run, so even the air is purified in it
nice.
Between, so they're totally sterilized before we go out and then you pick up another client. So there is that. I think that there is an opportunity still with small groups. I think we're going to see a lot of small groups and local moves. So I think there is an opportunity for us in the transportation as things come back but we're looking at other opportunities like, how can we participate maybe in the, because we have parking attendants. So how do we park, maybe guest arrival? What does that look like? How are we organizing? Maybe we can, one of the things I was talking to somebody today was, face masks. Well, what if we are helping to secure face masks for the industry and we're aggregating our resources as an industry, bringing, because we're going to need 20, 30, 50,000 face masks to be able to service events, or are we all going to be like, kind of the federal government versus the states, right? We're all competing against, right? So we're just kind of looking at what those opportunities are, seeing what the trends are. So we're just kind of being patient, but at the same time, listening.
Well, I love that. I mean, you're such a leader, Stuart, in our industry, particularly in the Seattle area. And I love that the Northwest Event Show is an opportunity to show some new ways of doing things. It'll be interesting to see with your date being in the fall and kind of what you decide to do with that, if it's a way to show and tell a bit of a new normal in a space. It's just, you've got an interesting opportunity, I think, with Northwest Event Show to have the industry embrace that things are going to look and feel different, and here's maybe, things that we've done to still be able to gather, but safely. I really appreciate all the work that you do on behalf of all of us. And Felicia, I love that you came up with a cool way to sanitize my phone while I'm checking in. The hotel zags being cool out there like you always are. But tell us about your fun puppy thing that you did.
Oh, yeah. So I have a giant golden retriever. He's 90 pounds, and he's 90 pounds of fury, really. But he's a 1.5 years old, and his name is Johnny Cash. And he is actually the face of the hotel's pet program. So we have some really fun things that we do with him just from a photo shoot perspective and in the rooms and on social media and things like that. But I was sitting here, and arguably we can take, only so many certification classes before you're like, I can't do this anymore. So I was sitting here kind of bored, and I was like, how do I reinvent the wheel and network in a new way that's personal to me, that humanizes what we're all going through? So I had pulled out my 1,800 long list of clients from GBTA, and I decided that I was going to reach out to 15 people that I'd never spoken to ever, and 15 new people, or 15 people that I've known every single day. And instead of giving it a sales pitch, what I did was I actually created this PDF of Johnny Cash, getting to know him. And I titled the email Cute Puppy Break. And really, it was just, hey, I'm Felicia. This is my giant dog. take a break from the news and here's a human touch. This is me. This is really who I am and the life I live. And the response was astounding. Like, I am still blown away. I have so many pictures of other people's pets now. It's the absolute best though, because, you know, I was able to connect in a different way. And I think a lot of the feedback that I got from planners and, you know, travel managers was just, thank you. I really needed that. I really needed that break from my day-to-day, from, you know, all the bad news. And here's this dog that can make just about anyone laugh. And, you know, I've never done a campaign that had that big of a response before. So I think that, you know, humanizing the situation as much as we possibly can, similar to Sun River with transparency is going to be so important moving forward. You know, transparency and trust. And I think this has had a very interesting way of bringing us closer to the people that we've worked with for many years and new people, because we're all in it together at this point. So, you know, just being human and transparent and having the conversation and reaching out to people that you don't know can have a really big impact on their day and alternatively on yours.
It's so true. I mean, I came up through the hotel business in 1990-ish when all of Desert Storm was happening. And I was, you know, at the time, my guy had left to go for a year and I was expecting a baby. And all of a sudden I have a client that's knitting me a baby, you know, blanket. And I think back to those hospitality days. I'm just OG. But I think back to, you know, me as a salesperson and a planner giving me a blanket for my child. It was so intimate, and I thought, this is amazing. And I think as we got busy and we had these tools, we have moved from here's your form letter for your bid, because I have 7 other bids in the queue, and order taking versus like really creating relationship. I think there's an opportunity around what you're saying, Felicia, which is to connect in an authentic, genuine way that's a deep connection. So I love the cute puppy story. We have some questions. I'm so excited. Christina?
One question was just for Jena to repeat when the Sun River Resort is reopening, and then we have a couple of other questions after Jena.
Yeah, let's go for it. So Jena, reopen date?
May 15th. So we got 10 days, guys. We're getting there.
Oh, awesome.
Well, and Jena, I'm a golfer, so I love when you stay in touch with me, because every different shot I get of your golf course, I'm just like, okay, what date? Can't wait to get back.
Who would have thought that golf is going to bring their comeback during a pandemic?
It's going to be amazing. And I love that you keep showing me that your course is waiting for me. I love that you do that.
Good.
Christina, another one?
Amy had a great comment that she wanted to remind folks as a great strategic partnership that there's swag out there that people can use for product placement and branding, possibly doing a branded face mask. So there's great opportunity to not forget the swag partners out there that can help make those connections and partnerships. And then there was a question also out there for Stuart, which is what are the ratios of guests to a minivan full sprinter that we now have to consider with regards to social distancing?
Thank you, Amy. I appreciate that comment. And Amy's an amazing partner. Evo3 Marketing, they've done a great job as a partner with Toolkit, and we will continue to create cool things that serve our new audience, or our audience, in a new way that could put an awesome brand on it. So thank you, Amy, for participating and for sharing. Stuart, what's the capacity of a mini sprinter in the new day and age?
Well, if you're a family,
oh, that's
we
true.
Can pack it, right? So it really depends on the group, right? So a normal sprinter holds 14. So I would I'd be comfortable putting about 40% in there. Where you're going to give you're still going to be a little close, where I think we might just run our 23s and say, that they're because they're side-by-side seating, and then you could just put one per couple seats. And so you're running 12, 11 to 12, and you could have that social distancing again, providing our drivers are, have a mask and gloves. And so it's just about providing a very sterile environment, and just, it comes back to trust and knowing that they feel comfortable in the environment.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to partnership, right? That's part of the discussion in having these vendor relationships is to be able to call someone like Stuart and say, I may, even if I'm not using you in Seattle with your movers, can you help me understand what I should be considering? And I think it's about having those relationships where you're more than just a buyer seller. These are your partners. I would call Felicia and say, hey, I'm working with the hotel and I'm not getting any traction on this. Do you have any insight of how I might negotiate this differently? Or, with Jena being able to say, Jena, help me understand all the safety things at the resort as you reopen so that I can communicate them effectively down my channels. So the partnership is so important. And even though a lot of you are really challenged right now about how you provide service, you're still a valued partner. I just want to make sure you hear that from me. And I know that we'll be back and healthy and that you have our best interest as, event clients. And I think that the deeper the relationships, the better in times of a challenge. It's not till you've really been in a trench with somebody to figure out a cancellation clause that you deepen that rapport. So when things are going beautifully, you know that they, Felicia and I actually went on an MPI hood to coast walk or something. When Felicia and I met, I didn't know her from a hotelier, and her and I stayed up all night walking in shifts, and I really got to know Felicia on a social level, which has helped us in our business partnership, certainly since we tried that. So I would encourage all of the vendors, and I say that lovingly, the vendors, to think about ways that you can connect with your planners right now. Stay top of mind. Be sensitive to the fact that we're trying to put on an event in 2 days digitally and with all of our tech partners, and we're trying to learn a new language essentially. And so, be sensitive to that, but stay in touch with us. Stay top of mind, stay connected. We have another question.
One last question for Stuart with regards to changing out how the vehicles are situated. Do you think leather or pleather seating is the future, and how do you keep upholstery seats sanitized?
Great question.
Yeah.
Well, good thing we've got 35 vehicles with all leather seats.
Yay!
So that we got that going for us.
That's right.
I think you can steam actually on the carpets. The CDC actually has guidelines on steaming. So if you can steam, but then of course then you have a little bit of a wet seat, so you have to let that dry. But yes, I do. I think that a nice leather or pleather is definitely easier to clean. And it's funny. I think about the airlines, even the airlines, and what they have to go do to provide an environment that's safe and clean. And I'm looking forward to the next time I travel to a very clean airline, which I haven't been in a long time.
Well, I'm torn. I'm so feeling it for our airline partners, and spending a lot of time as a planner. I think I was home 3 days in October last year. I was on a plane, and when they were talking about the space and the seatings, I was kind of like, is it bad that I'm kind of excited to have a little bit more elbow room? And so there is it is going to be all this crazy new normal. I spent my first night in a hotel just around this event here in Portland for months, and I live in hotels, for a living, and I love it. We had an event that went virtual the first week in March, and we were only 4 of our team were the only ones in the hotel. It was eerie. I didn't like it. I love me some hospitality venues, and but I have to say, the hotel that I checked into was so sensitive about everything. They didn't touch any cards. I felt like I'd never been in a cleaner hotel in my life. Thought about some of the places I've stayed in New York that I'm pretty sure missed a few housekeeping calls, and I just felt safe. I felt it felt sanitary, and they've done a great job of being great partners that way. So I'm confident in particularly our hotel partners, that they're going to be able to make us feel comfortable and safe and take every precaution and every procedure at heart. And then Stuart, I know as you look forward to the Northwest Event Show, I'm really excited to partner and support you around getting as many planners there as possible to continue to learn together, and showing, if we are in the same space, showing how we can do events and do them well in a new sensitivity to gathering. Any final tips from each of you? A hot tip you want to make sure event planners know or vendor partners know?
I think the only thing that I would say is, as partners, this is what this is about, is just knowing your value to each other, right? Especially as we go into this unknown right now, understanding what you bring to the table and knowing how that can be received with them, and thinking outside the box to those longer term partnerships that you've had, and not just thinking like the most immediate, the hottest thing, thinking of those people that are here with you through the trenches and really sticking out those loyalties.
I appreciate that, Jena. Felicia, closing thought or tip?
Yeah, really just patience. I think the best thing that we can do as partners right now is be patient with one another as we navigate this very uncharted territory. And as new sanitary guidelines come out and as things evolve, just be patient and be open, and just know that we're in this together. So I think that that's the number one most important thing.
I appreciate that. Stuart, any closing thoughts? And again, if you want to share about the show coming up.
So we're going to go to we've committed to a virtual trade show in the fall. So we're looking for working on a partner to develop that, and then we'll do a live, actually a hybrid, in the spring of 2021. And the other part would be that we're actually working to get involved in the legislation of how do events look like. So we're partnering with some other event professionals to have the conversation with legislation to, rather than them impose their, pushing it towards us, but we want to be part of the conversation and have a say in it. We believe that the industry can produce events extremely safe, and we can design and create and design those safe places. And so that's what we're advocating for.
And Stuart, you're welcome to post the link to any of the legislative, resources for our industry into our chat thing on the Evia platform. We will also include that in any post recording we send out to people. So you can find out how you can get involved on behalf of the industry to have a voice, a collective voice around the impact and the next moves as it relates to all of our businesses. Thank you all for joining us here today. Amazing rock stars. I'm thinking about you. I can't wait to be at ride in your little sprinters, Stuart. And here he goes, Johnny Cash. Cute puppy break. Oh my gosh. That's amazing. Cute puppy break. Thanks, Felicia, for joining us. Be safe at the hotel.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.
Jena, I'll get my clubs cleaned off and come see you soon.
All right, I'll have the cart and the beer waiting.
Perfect. Thank you, everybody. We're going to take a quick break. Just take a few 3 to 4 minutes, and we'll be back in 5 minutes. How about at 2:37? Give us 5 minutes. Tune back in. We're going to finish strong with a great presentation from Royce, our prop partners here, that will show you the studio so you can get a sense of how we've produced today in partnership with them. And then margaritas. So take a quick break. Join us on the virtual photo booth. I'd love to see some pictures in social media. Tag us at Toolkit Event, hashtag Toolkit Event. And we'll put up the slide at the quick 5-minute break for you to visit the photo booth. So Stuart, Jena, and Felicia, let's see your virtual photos. All right, thanks, guys. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Really appreciate everyone that's viewing today and joining us. Hope you got your fun virtual photos. We want to finish by showcasing this amazing studio we've been in today. We're all separated, and I'm super excited to introduce Jennifer Cox with Royce Prop Shop, who's going to show us the layout of where we're at today. And then they're going to talk a little bit about wow factors with decor, even in this digital environment. So Jennifer, take it away.
Well, thank you so much, Lynn. Proper Planning, Toolkit event. This has been an amazing day to sit back in the back of the house and witness happen. I learned long ago in my career, if Lynn gives you a call and says, hey, I have an idea, the answer is yes. And then when she follows up with, hey, I have what I think is a crazy idea, the answer is, oh yes, I'm doing this. I want to be part of it. Anything Lynn does, anything she touches is amazing. So we're super excited to be part of this. Royce and I and the crew have been here setting up and cleaning all day. Hope you all enjoyed the food truck here for lunch. And then we're going to give you an example of the studio space in case you didn't notice the transition throughout the day. Here's our little TED Talk interview area. Again, incorporating tools. And then this is the surprise that none of you have seen yet. This is how we are ending the day. I feel like Vanna White all of a sudden. We are ending the day. The desk is gone, and here we are at the tool wall. Hi, Royce. This is Royce Mason, president and owner of Royce's Prop Shop, and my very good friend.
Yes, my Blazer cohort.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah. So, Royce, how are things with Royce's Prop Shop these days?
Well, you know, Jen, you know, what do they say when you have lemonade? Well, when you have lemons, make lemonade. Mm-hmm. You know, so when Lynn exactly called to say, let's partner up on this webinar, and Seamless offered this great studio, we were like, yes, hell yes, we want to be involved. And I like the way you showcased the studio, Jen. That shows, you know, how you can tie in decor and scenery into a webinar to help keep it interesting. So. Yeah.
Yeah, so this was a fun project to work on. Additionally, obviously Royce and I talk all the time, but we're sharing this information with you as to, you know, why would someone in a virtual event use props like this? Why?
Okay, great question. Great question. So, a couple of things. In case some of your viewers are like me and a little bit ADD, it really helps to keep somebody's attention. You know, if you're looking at a screen for hours, you're going to drift, you're going to look outside, you're at your desk at home, and you'll take off and get a cup of coffee. But if the scenery keeps changing, you help hold people's interest. So like by going to the food cart, or going to the tool wall, or going to the ESPN desk, you know, by changing it, it really just helps to keep people's attention. The other thing that works really well is you get to drive home the point or the set. So this is the toolkit, so we came up with the tool wall. The food cart, when you wanted to talk about food carts and lunch and how to do things, you provide a food cart, you know? So by doing this, you help really nail that message down. And then when we had the news desk, we put the logos on it and did some branding. So it's branding, conveying a message. It just really goes a long way. And it just creates some dimension, you know? Mm-hmm. People like texture, dimension, scenery. We used to do these high-tech shows, and we'd come in with like the thatched hut and everything, and everybody would love and come to that booth because it had texture and warmth as opposed to just the cold plexiglass or the cold sets.
Yes.
So, yes.
And I want to follow up on your comment about the branding on the news desk. It's another way to highlight and showcase sponsors of an event without just a reader at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
Like it's actually here. Earlier in the TED Talk interview area, all the sponsor logos were on one of the gear shifts. So it's another way to highlight sponsors throughout the day, and sponsorship was an earlier topic. So it's easily incorporated, similar to a live event. Everything you do in a live event, you can pretty much do here except shake hands.
Yes. I'm keeping my distance. You know. Have you noticed the whole floor has been spiked into space? And you know, you asked what have we been doing? Well, we've created a new position in our company. It's actually the safety attendant. So as you see us moving around the set, we have people actually wiping down the chairs. And one of your speakers earlier mentioned seating and chairs, and we had originally upholstered furniture designed for this look, but we've been pulling the upholstered furniture for the pleather, leather look, and we have safety attendants who wipe it down in between sets as people get up and leave. We wipe surfaces down. So, we've had to recreate or rethink our whole business model due to where we are right now.
Yeah, in addition to that, when we were doing setup yesterday and even some more final touches today, our entire crew were fully masked, wore gloves, and then cleaning. And again, marking off the 6 feet of distance, just so everyone is aware of where it is. You don't have to point it out because I think everyone kind of expects to see it now.
And Jen and I have been wearing, as everybody else in the studio has been wearing masks. This is the first time it actually feels
very
different.
weird.
It does feel weird. This is the first time we've taken masks off.
Yeah.
So a couple other things. You had great speakers, by the way, Lynn. Partnerships.
Mm-hmm.
So what we've done, I heard the one gentleman talking about legislature. ILEA, we've joined a national organization called the Event Safety Alliance, where we actually are taking part in putting together what the new rules and policies would be rolled out. I mean, we can't expect people to tell us what to do. We need to be proactive and take hold of what our future is going to look like. We have the opportunity to shape it ourselves. So when a planner like Lynn comes to us and says, my client's really on the fence, and we go, well, the convention center's doing this, this, and this. We're doing this and this. Aramark's doing that. So we're building confidence for our clients. But not only that, I want to know what they're doing so we keep our people safe, right? I want Lynn safe. I want our team safe. I want Aramark's team safe. So when we go in and we work together, and we want Seamless's guys safe, right? So we want to have a whole plan together so we know what each other's doing, because, right, you're only as strong as your weakest link.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to know what our team is doing, so we're keeping each other safe, and then at the same time, or safer, excuse me, the right term is safer, and then that way we build confidence with our clients and then help keep them safer. And then we are collaborating, right? Nobody's hoarding information because, oh my God, Seamless is doing this. I didn't even think of that, right? We have so many intelligent and smart, creative people in this industry. If we can all learn from each other, we'll help each other out, and the sooner we can get everybody back to work and feeling comfortable and creating safer events or safer environments, the sooner we can start taking care of each other's families and putting people back to work and just getting back. I mean, we just miss, okay, we Zoom all the time, but I miss seeing people in person. So the sooner we can collaborate and come up with a plan and take, responsibility for our own actions, the better off we are.
And even Elizabeth on our staff has has redesigned we have a small office, humongous warehouses, very small office. So we're reconfiguring our own office for the day when we can go back into the office, work together, and still be distanced. So
Right.
I think that's cool.
Right, and then, of course, everybody's done this. We're staggering our break times. We're staggering our lunch times. We have a huge break room lunch area, but we're only allowing 2 in at a time.
Oh, right.
Right, so set crew, we only brought 2 out. Sometimes we'll bring 6, 8 guys out. We're going less people, work a little longer. We think the less interaction with different people is safer. So internally, we've done a lot of things as well. Externally, internally.
Royce, I want to ask you,
Yes.
you are the owner. Royce's Prop Shop just turned 30 last year.
Yes.
So you've seen a lot. You've been through a lot. We both have in our careers.
Yes.
But I know how personally you take the staff. So why don't you talk a little bit about what you're doing and what you're doing for the staff? Well,
okay, so Jen, that's a warm spot in my heart. So
I know it brings me to tears,
okay,
even before I worked for you.
Yes. Well, our company is not anything without our team, right? And so when I have, our new guy has been with us 5 years. We have people on our crew over 20 years that have been with us. So all of a sudden, I'm going to tell them to, stay home, collect unemployment, do that? No. We've kept over 80% of our staff on. We've gone down to reduced hours, anywhere from 32 to 36 hours. If you have any PTO, paid time off, accumulated, you can pull it. If you come to me and you have a problem making your rent, we'll help you with that. We have an unofficial loan policy in our company because a lot of guys don't qualify for bank loans. So we've actually helped somebody buy 2 different trailers for their home to live in, mortgage payments, but because, when a job comes out at 1 o'clock in the morning and you ask, 8 guys, will you take this down at 1 o'clock? They're like, okay, we do it, no problem, right? So what, I'm all of a sudden no. And like you said, we've been through this, 08, 09. We have a war chest that we've been saving for because we were, in case there was a recession. Thank God for our war chest that we're able to continue to pay people.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Especially, so I started working for Royce, and then 2 weeks later, I was no longer in the office. I've been there for 2 months working for Royce on events.
Yes.
But here we are, my first event.
Well, all right. So again, take advantage of what's going on. So what are we doing? What else are we doing? We're looking at our mission statement, our vision statement. What's our branding like? Take advantage of this. What I wanted the company to do, 30 years ago, 20 years, 10 years, 5 years ago has changed. To me, it's all about the community, giving back and, helping nonprofits and doing different things because my goals have changed. Helping our people, right? So, and how do we do that? How do we say thank you? So anyway, I could talk forever, but
I know.
I think it's almost time.
Is there
desk, your own reporter desk, Jen. It's pretty cool,
great.
huh?
Yes, I feel very at home.
Don't you feel the energy is better as a speaker when you're standing?
Yes, absolutely.
That's a hot tip I would tell everybody. If you get your
Yeah.
speakers a chance. Also, I was thinking as you were speaking, Royce, about maybe there's a prop that you could send your speakers that they could all put on their desk or something fun that kind of keeps the theme together. It's just a hot idea. I'm sitting here trying to innovate. It's almost, you can tell it's almost cocktail time. I'm getting some crazy ideas. But I do love that you guys were able to, in a very short footprint, or 2,500 square feet, produce, hopefully our viewers enjoyed, a different look and feel than the Zoom staff meeting, with your expertise in creating an aesthetic that is interesting for the viewers and stuff.
Well, Lynn, we have over 20,000 square feet of scenery and decor. So, normally we're bringing, 5 or 6 trucks to a job site for a traditional 1,000-person event. But we were so excited to be able to do something and bring this out. I mean, we can do just about anything. And it was really our pleasure to put our people to work. Everybody wants to just do something, get out of the house and do things. So thank you for the
You're welcome. Well, thank you. Jen, anything else? Final?
Well, I was going to say, you walking through the warehouse, whenever that was, it was hilarious. Oh, you have this. Oh, you have that. Oh, you have that.
Oh, yeah. These guys are your prop partners, no doubt about it. Royce built me a lifeguard station up in Seattle for an event, so you guys can do anything.
Yeah.
All right, and thank you again. We're so excited for our next segment.
Yeah.
I'm just going to join you 6 feet away. We are going to welcome Mr. David Ashcraft, mixologist, the Cocktail Crusader. So a bit about David. He and I worked together for many years in the Microsoft event world, where he was training our speakers and getting them ready to be on a physical stage. And so David, I know David in the sense of training speakers. I tune in to one of my links and I see Mr. David Ashcraft one day on YouTube. He has become the Cocktail Crusader, and his associate, his lovely associate there. And so I was really excited to make sure all of you event planners know, if you need a great speaker trainer, David Ashcraft's your guy, but we need cocktails because it's Cinco de Mayo, and we're ready. David, take it away.
Thanks, Lynn, and thanks everybody who's listening to this and joined live. And it is Cinco de Mayo. Some people might call it Cinco de Drinko, depending on what mood you're in. And here we go. This is going to be the recipe. Don't forget it. It's really easy. It's the 4x12 big batch margaritas. And feedback from people who've had these is easy to make, A lot of people enjoy them. So why not make more happiness instead of the one-off custom handmade cocktails? If you're the person hosting the party, that may take up too much time and my bar back's going to be really busy. So you ask yourself, hey, what's something you need for Cinco de Mayo and margaritas? You need the sun. When the sun's out, Cooper?
Guns out.
Okay. You also, when the sun is out, put the glasses right in the freezer. Get those in early so they have a nice chill on them. It's going to come in handy later on when we put the salt around the rim of the margarita. And so to start your margaritas for these, find a pitcher. And you might be saying, well, what size pitcher do I need? And this is not the size pitcher that you need. It's too small because if you do the math, some people have jumped ahead and probably multiplied 4 by 12 and got 48 ounces. So you're going to need at least a 64-ounce pitcher. So I'm just going to place my beer right there. And actually, to kind of get this thing going, we might want to open that one. That's just a little aiming fluid for the cocktail later on. So let's get the real pitcher out. And somebody might say, hey, Dave, do you put flowers in there? I say, only when I have to. I'd rather put margaritas in there.
Dave, we're here in the studio, and Jen is set up a bar in our toolkit, so she's following along. We'll send some shots of Jen preparing according to your great instruction.
Okay, Jen, I will take some dramatic pauses so you can get the proper tools and proper happiness out for mixing. So now we have to do something with this pitcher. So step number 1 is a 12-ounce can of limeade. Cooper Crusader, do you mind fetching a 12-ounce can of limeade? And so here is just a tip for you. That's what the limeade looks like. You're going to find it in the freezer section of your grocery store. So now you have arrows that tell you where to go in the grocery store. Thank you for showcasing that. Do not think that this is limeade. So if you send somebody to the store and it's not you, and they say, oh, I just got limeade, I'm going to get the lemonade, the Newman stuff, it's really good. No, that is no bueno. You need to get the limeade. Okay, so what's nice about the limeade and the reason you put it in first is it starts to add that chill that we're looking for the margarita. Oh yeah, look at that. That's going to be a base.
David, you didn't know that Newman's Own was a sponsor of Toolkit event. Thanks for that. Thanks for that graphic.
Yes, I invest in Newman's Own, but not for my cocktails.
Got it.
Just for lemonade. For little Cooper Crusader's got to have something to drink, Lynn.
Absolutely.
And speaking of his proceeds go to profits, I would like everybody to reuse, recycle, and reduce. So rather than, figure out you just take the 12-ounce can of limeade, go over to the sink and fill it up. I'm not near my sink, so I'm just going to pour 12 ounces in the limeade container. I'll pour it in there.
Can you ask?
How are we doing in studio? We have added 12 ounces of limeade, 12 ounces of agua, also known as water.
Holy water.
Holy water, nicely done. And then the next step, and you'll start to see it take shape on my PowerPoint there. I've got the color slightly different, but I added it for a little punch. Can we move on to step 3?
Nice graphics, David, by the way. Amazing animated PowerPoint. Way to best practice this.
Yeah, sorry about my background. I went to go get some Cinco de Mayo stuff, and it was sold out at the store. I mean, who knew that the day of it would be sold out? They already had 4th of July stuff in the store. So I need to do a little more proper event planning.
Yeah.
Our next ad is going to be 12 ounces of cerveza. And I've got it right over there. Cooper Crusader, if you can please grab the 12 ounces of cerveza. Thank you. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to add the Corona. Let me see, if you ever don't have a little church key to open up your beer, you can use your wedding ring. So now here we go. We want to put this in. We're not going to put it in too fast. And that's the reason you don't shake this margarita. It's got beer in it. So that would be an awful, terrible mess, kitchen mess. So we've got our beer. we've added that. Things are looking good. It's starting to get a chill on it from the limeade. How are we doing in studio?
We're
great.
Jen's doing great. Yeah.
All right, Jen, I like it. So now,
Good job.
12 ounces of tequila. So tequila runs the gamut. I would say the lower grade tequila you go, the higher grade hangover in proportion. So I would strongly encourage everyone, when you're using tequila, 100% agave. Now, you could go and get Don Julio, which it's a sipping tequila. It's really nice. You might not want to put it in a mixed margarita like this. What I've got is Patron, which is 100%. Now, this is a cute little bottle that Wendy Miller from Talent Investments got me for Cinco de Mayo. And it's kind of fun. It is, I believe, it's 375 milliliters. So it's a little bottle, but that is, coincidentally, almost exactly 12 ounces. And if it's a little bit more, I'll be a little happier, and so will you. Let's just add the happiness. Careful, Coop. That almost splashed on you. Gonna need a...
We're in compliance. Is Cooper, he's set to be a barback? He's got his handler permit?
He does. Yeah, I was quite involved. He did it online. And he's done a great job. I will have to ask this. Cooper, would you mind running upstairs and getting the largest spoon you can find?
A large dish?
Large spoon, please. Okay. Thank you. And so now I have Cooper running off to get my stir stick. And we have a large container. And there's a couple ways you can do this. If you add ice to it, it will water it down. And just like this, and then you stir it. And then what you do is you put it in the fridge or freezer. So, depending on how big your refrigerator is and how much time you have, that's perfect. You can place it in the refrigerator.
That big.
And then, thank you. That's very nice. This is almost like we could stir a cauldron, Cooper. I mean, I could not have asked for a better barback. How's your barback down there?
Oh, she's crushing it. She's doing awesome. We're rimming our glass. We're so ready for a beverage.
Okay, I will just share with you this. If you do not have a lot of time, I would take the margarita, get a funnel, pour it into a large container, snap the container, and then put it in the freezer. Don't leave it in overnight because it will freeze and become a slushy, and it's not that great. But just for a couple hours, and then when you take it out of the freezer, it's cool at the party, and then you're just going to add ice to the glasses. And so now I think you've got the glasses out. Cooper's going to grab the glass. And when you take it out of the freezer, the glass it'll have a frosted look. When you take it out, it starts to get foggy. There we go. Thank you. And then as that condensation's on the outside of the glass, you could either dip the glass in the salt, you can ring the rim with lime, or just give it a roll. Are you guys rollers? And I'm just going to do half because, some people might not want salt and other people, and, Okay, thank you. And then Cooper's got the next one. He's putting the ice cube right in there. So the key on putting the ice cube in is you want to put the ice cube in now. You don't put the margarita in because if you're using a big ice cube, it's going to splash everywhere. And here's a pro tip. Do not leave your ice out in a bucket because it starts to melt. And then when you put it in the drink, so always take the ice directly from the freezer. And then if you're having a party with people over, take all the ice out, the old ice that might be freezer burned, get rid of it. And no ice from the gas station that's been sitting out. Let's use high quality ice. Team, I think we're at the moment of truth.
I think we are. We're ready. Are we going to go to camera here, Chris?
We're going to pour the happiness over that ice cube.
Remember pour at 4, Dad?
We like to pour at 4, Coop, and it's getting close. It's about 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
And then for garnish, just get out a small knife, an appropriate knife for slicing lemon or a lime. In this case, we're going to do a lime. And we're gonna do a lime wheel because it looks great. And then what you do, just like you're on your little floaty out in the ocean in Cabo, we're just gonna put it on top of the ice cube. It's gonna look cool.
Looks amazing.
Oh, and if you want to go crazy, you can put a floater of Grand Marnier on there and call it a Cadillac or a Lincoln Continental or some other nice vehicle. But what we're going to use this vehicle for is to increase our BAC. Lynn, team in the studio.
I'm going to go to camera here. All right, we're going to get a camera shot in the studio. David Ashcraft, the cocktail crusader and the amazing speaker trainer. Thank you for ending our day with such, and Cooper, thank you. Great job, buddy. You did awesome.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for joining
Cheers.
us, David. And cheers to the Royce team, the Seamless team, Evia, all the planners that joined in today. Super appreciate you putting your trust in us to try to take risks, show you what we're learning, and that hope you join our Toolkit community. Our Tuesday video series on YouTube is free. So cheers, David and Cooper and everybody. Happy Cinco de Mayo.
Happy Cinco de Mayo.
Ooh, that's
Cheers.
good. David, you can, Jen can fill in for you if you ever can't make your YouTube Cocktail Crusader. She did great. Thanks everybody for joining. Enjoy your, be safe on Cinco de Mayo. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye. Okay.